Hello and welcome to Talkin Jake with myself, David Mendelson, as we jump around the world of sports and primarily baseball season, although Olympics Friday, opening ceremony, lot going on. Had such a ridiculous boy weekend. I'll walk through that a little bit later. You guys like getting into the sports. And it's baseball season. I'm not excited for the Olympics yet. I think when they start rolling, get some more of those Team USA NBA games. Give me Shikari all day. Opening ceremonies doesn't do much for me normally. I guess if I'm bored and it's on, sometimes they have cool effects and stuff. But I'm not going to get into that till I'm into that. It's baseball season, and it's the time of the year that I've now tried to quantify for 2 seasons now. I've said tread line, jolly through the runway. I mean, I think purgatory has been thrown out before, and I like that, where teams kind of have their fate decided. But that's not purgatory. Is that purgatory? I got to reread. Purgatory is in between.
Yeah, purgatory is definitely an in-between state.
But aren't you stuck in purgatory, or can you get out?
I think, it depends which context we're exactly talking about.
Basically, the context for baseball is, especially with the expanded playoffs, the variability that can happen in these next coming weeks or coming games is insane. My Cincinnati Reds, that had been Trevor Plouffe's recent sweetheart of the season. We're going to talk ball today. I hope you're okay with that. Also, this week, what's becoming a famed episode, General Manager Jolly Olive will be proposing us trades, and we will be accepting or denying. It's a big one.
Yeah. Even better than Jolly Olive.
Oh, did I say Jolly? I meant foolish. God. Jolly jumped in on Talking Baseball today. They're basically the same guy. Just one's covered in grease.
They can make them fight again. You guys like that.
One burns in the sun. We'll get them both on again soon. Foolishness. GM episode. But yeah, like example, this past weekend, my Cincinnati Reds that I've been on, Trev was getting hot to trot on. They get swept by the Nats, and in my head, like, it is over. They L4, they just dropped a half game back into that exclusive third worst team in the National League participation trophy that keeps happening. And that could change tonight. But thing is, if you're the Cincinnati Reds and it's July 22nd, you had the Nats on the schedule who played themselves into they need to trade, right? Territory. Although they just jumped them. The Cincinnati Reds, luckily I don't think their deadline was going to have crazy juice either way because they're just banking on their in-house talent. But I think any of their bullpen arms that they get a real offer on, you got to make the move. You can hopefully find someone else down there. Frankie Montas, not a ton of guys in the lineup unless they end up in one of these weird blockbusters where teams are begging for hitting, like Seattle. I don't know. Seattle has been the buzzword of the day. We did a whole Talking Baseball episode, as I mentioned, with Jolly, not Trev, not Foolish. Seattle, as of today, is out of the playoffs. And if I told you that coming into the season, that on July 22nd, the Mariners would not be in the playoff picture, you'd be like, oh, okay. I mean, it's a little disappointing, but you'd probably be like, well, Houston's Houston. And they have been for a couple months, but they also pooped the bed early on. You'd say the Texas Rangers are probably following up their World Series. They are not. Texas Rangers are in the bad place, still not hitting. Lost another series this weekend. Was a little nervous when we did our trade draft episode on Talking Baseball. That's become an annual favorite. A lot of Texas Rangers got picked that every year, and it's the beauty of purgatory season, one team happens. Like the Cubs, they happened last year. It was over. The Angels put their chips in and then took their chips out in a sad development last year. The Shohei times. God, crazy was that? Lucas Giolito. That'll be a bad Jolly or Foolish video one day. Although we like Lucas Giolito. So many teams are interested to see what their next steps are. I guess let's do true purgatory teams. Maybe this will be the segment, even though in my head it already feels like I've talked about this stuff too much. But between here, talking baseball, All-Star break, and it's just the topic. And I did open one pass an article, but he's buns. Oh, that's just me being rude. We'll circle back to passing, and I have to tell you guys about my loser boy weekend. Okay, let's reverse engineer this. NL West standings page. Colorado Rockies set in stone, but we have no idea what they're going to do because they're the Rockies. They should be selling what they can. Giants. Nervous face. That's what I just did on the YouTube. If you watch there, subscribe. I mean, they're not going to hard sell, right? I don't think they can. Are they in purgatory? I mean, I guess if they have an awful week, they're in purgatory. An awful week. Like if they have a great week, they're going to buy.
Like I know the player options make like Chapman and Snell specifically weird, but they have other pieces and somebody would do it.
Giants in purgatory.
They're in purgatory.
Padres are not. Like, because then I start playing the game. Well, if they lose their next 9, well, yeah. But the Padres also have their chips on the table. I don't think they're in purgatory. I think they're buying. The Diamondbacks, I don't think they're in purgatory. They won the World Series last year. They got to the World Series. Sorry. They've been playing a much better brand of baseball. They haven't lost their last 6 series. I think someone came out with their since June 1st stats, and they've been pretty good. The Snakes were pretty banged up. They've got bodies coming back. I think it's let it ride. That I don't think they're in purgatory. Dodgers, not in purgatory. Reds? I just gave a whole speech about them not being in purgatory. I don't know. I'm going to double check our purgatory list. Cubs? I'm out on them too. Those teams need to sell. And how about this? I guess this is where I can plant my flag. I've been kind of pro Reds this year. I've been kind of anti-Cubs this year. Cubs felt a little too cocksure. Reds felt like they could be up and coming. Both are now a half game separated at 47-53 or 48-53. Both those teams need to sell. Should they be in purgatory if the Cubs win a couple games? How about this? Cubs are in purgatory, Reds are not. Those teams are operating differently. Cubs have given out a couple real contracts. I mean, going back, Dansby, Shota, Happ, Seiya. Like, they've given out Bellinger. They've given out real contracts. I was happy with my Reds, and they brought in Jamer. They did Montas on a 1 year. They did some moves, but the Cubs are in purgatory. The Reds are not. Reds, it's not the year. Cubs, if you can have a week, make your August fun. Pirates aren't in purgatory, as weird as that is, because they said they're buying, right?
Definitely not selling. I don't know what exactly they're going to buy, but
they ain't in purgatory.
If they're making any number of moves, I think they're all going to be adding to their roster.
They cannot sell. You're not in purgatory. That's huge. Cardinals, no. They've been clean for a little while. They win another set this weekend. Brew Crew, no. Not in purgatory. So currently locked. Giants and Cubs. Giants and Cubs. Disappointing. Marlins, nope. They did one of the first trades. Could the Nats be in purgatory? They can't buy.
I don't think they're going to be really.
They can't buy. I mean, they just won 3. That it would be really funny if in a week there is like a W9. Because in the NL, that would have them in the playoffs. I don't think they're in purgatory. I hope it becomes.
I don't think they're going to be like hard selling, but
I hope they become a fun part of this exercise in a week because they could put everything on its head. W3 out of the break. Who do they have coming up? Padres. I've seen the Padres lose series. Padres, St. Louis, Arizona. Hey, if they earn their keep against 3 teams fighting for it, maybe, but no, I'm not going to put them in purgatory now. They called up their top prospects. They can't buy. The idea of purgatory is you could go one way or the other. Nats can't go the other. Mets, purgatory. And that's obvious.
There's a purgatory team.
Mets fans live in purgatory. 50-48. Jolly spun it as a win-win on Talking Baseball, and I did like that attitude. Like, if you're the Mets and you trade some guys and you get some packages, I think you just say, hey, all right, this year was not the plan. Hopefully the next couple years of Mets baseball are what it's about. If they buy, you say, okay, hey, we got here. Let's win a couple more games and see something happen. Kodai Senga, I think he's like rumored to come back this season now. Where's he at? He was on my article I was reading earlier.
Yeah. Not been part of the year yet.
Right? Kodai Senga. What is this article? Season debut Friday.
Okay.
So, like, all right, that's adding a guy, in theory. Mets are in purgatory, but a positive purgatory. Jolly said, at least.
You can be happy either way, but doing nothing would be crazy.
I know a guy. Braves, Phillies, no. They're in the game. So, out of that, we've got Mets, Cubs, Giants firmly in purgatory. If I was to make a gray layer of purgatory, it would have the Nats and the Reds. But, I mean, even that feels thinner than we think.
Yeah. And there's, like, a layer of, like, purgatory being between just not selling whatever you can and fully selling your stuff.
Yeah.
Which is what those two fall into.
We
don't see either them making major additions or trading for any sort of, like, rental or...
If it was one of those charts you see, that it's like, if you answer yes, go this way. It's like a V chart. Not the name of it. One of your options need to be buyers at the deadline to be in purgatory. And the Nats cannot be buyers at the deadline. The Giants could. The Reds could. It would have to be long term. It wouldn't be like rental.
You can make smart trades.
I'm keeping them out of purg. And that's what the whole point is. If we did this episode on Friday, the Reds would have been in purg. So maybe I'm being a fool. Maybe I'm being a fool. In the American League, A's, no. Angels, no. Texas Rangers, yes.
Big
full-blown P. I'm pushing P. Remember that? Mariners can't sell, right? Tough John Boy Media Day for the Mariners.
They're going to be parts in, parts out. But they're not doing a pure sell. No.
They can't sell. Texas Rangers, only team in that division in purgatory. Astros are going. They're back in first place. Seattle, half tied with them, half not. Halos, A's dead. Okay. AL Central. Guard Dogs have been electric. Twins, electric. Should buy in some way, but it's got to be a cheap buy. The fight between the Brewers, Twins, and Guardians for Eric Fetty's $7.5 million next year. Oh.
Ooh.
Yeah. Get your 7th prospect ready.
Yeah. Dodger.
I don't know. I think the bargain bin teams. Yeah. Although I did see the only thing Jeff Passan did today to make my wiener flinch. And the fact I was going to say that into a microphone. Thanks, Dan Patrick.
You were going to say that.
I was going to say that, and then I stopped. Trade draft, I went Flaherty to L.A. He's an L.A. guy. He's been striking out. He's been punching tickets this year that I was like, my thought process was the Dodgers need a bona fide guy that could pitch in the playoffs. And rental-wise, they're willing to pay probably more than the lower market teams because it's a pure rental. You're here. Let's go. That they might need playoff innings where, I don't know, not to be rude to Eric Fetty, if you trade him to the Dodgers, I'm I don't know where he's going to be come October. Is he going to be prime for a playoff start? I think Jack Flaherty, he's been in some big games where Jeff Passan did that thing that I said I wasn't going to say. He said Jack Flaherty to the Brewers, and I was kind of like, ooh.
I don't not see it.
That's kind of nice. That's an aggressive Milwaukee move, which we're constantly begging for. Because that's a guy that could start a playoff game for them. So thank you, Jeff Passan, for
one thing
doing that to my body. Back to purgatory. White Sox are not in purgatory.
We know what they're doing.
Guard Dogs, Twins, not in purgatory. Royals, not in purgatory.
Already have bought.
Have purchased. They can't sell. Although
7-3 in their last 10.
Me always loves when there's a buy-sell team. No, they're in. I think they have another easy series coming up after sweeping the White Sox. Or no, excuse me, they have the Snakes. Lies. There's been a lot of lies said at this dinner table tonight. Oh, they got another White Sox series coming before the deadline. They're good.
They're buying.
They've got a Chicago two-step that I like the Royals. Oh, my God, it's Joe's McFly. Whoa, Nelly! That's me screaming at a man you can't see pictured. Podcast only. Tough. Royals are not in purgatory. The Detroit Tigers are. I'll tell you what. The Detroit Tigers, who just had themselves another winning series against the Blue Jays. They won a Dodger series before that. They won a Guardian series before that. They swept a Red series before that. If the Detroit Tigers are at 500 come the trade deadline or over, I don't think they're selling. I mean, maybe they'll do the retoolsy thing. But the Tigers at one point, they won 10 out of 12. And I think they're just looking for winning culture, but you're out of the wild card so hard. I guess this is a test for me, Beebs, because can the Tigers buy? That feels like immediate regret.
They can make moves for beyond this season, depending who's around. I don't see them acquiring any rentals, or they could do that kind of trade, but still move off of like a Flaherty who's a little bit found money for them.
So this is, I'm trying to figure out in my language of how I've been speaking. If they're not going to sell or buy, would they be in purgatory?
They're not full buying,
I don't
not
know.
full selling.
That's tricky. I've now put myself in a conundrum.
But if they had if they lost their next 5.
Oh, they're hard selling. So that's true.
Then they'd
they're in
sell
purgatory.
anything not
They're
named
in purgatory.
Scooble.
They are. If the Tigers remain hot, if they win their next couple series, they've got a Guardian series. Okay, there's a decent
Announce
test for
yourselves. You can announce
How
yourselves.
about
there.
this? It's a beautiful sport, people. Here is your Detroit Tigers schedule. Their fate is somewhat in their hand. Guardians for 4. Hey, if they handle that, ownership and the GM has to open their eyes a little bit. Minnesota for 3. Okay. Cleveland for 2. Then it's the deadline, so that's 9 games. 7-2? I don't know. There's a convo there, especially against 2 teams in front of you. What I wish their deadline was a couple days later, it's Kansas City. So they're facing Cleveland, Minnesota, Cleveland, Kansas City for the next 14 games, 13 games. Their fate will be decided during purgatory season. They're in. Oh, God, and they only have... know how on different websites it'll have the projected starters? They only have Scooble, Flaherty, and Montero listed for the next 10 days. That's our guy, Cater Montero. Just a reminder to everyone.
Might like what just happened on the screen.
From Venezuela. And Austin Wells homer sure is. How many runs does that score?
Just one.
Oh, it's a solo homer. We'll take that.
3 strikeouts in the first for the Yanks.
Yeah. Tigers are in purgatory. That's good. I'm happy for them. And that's what a recent hot streak does. Finishing up in your American League, Beast. Orioles, Yankees are not in purgatory. Rays are in a constant purgatory, right? They're buying and selling.
Yeah.
If they win today, they're going to be 2 games above 500 in the mix. They're listening on both sides. I'll put the Rays in purg.
Yeah.
Blue Jays are not. Blue Jays are done.
Blue Jays got to just sell.
Blue Jays are done. It's over. It's Jover. Blue Jays are done. And that was the other thing in Passan's article that you already know the effect it had. We're going back to back. Yankees. Wow. Wells and Volpe. That was a live reaction. The future is now. The future is now.
Parm boys.
Vladdy, I think, has real rumors there. Everyone says the Jays want to compete next year. Okay. But you can't think of no idea where any of those contract talks have gone. Vladdy's value is up. I mean, he is a gem of a piece to trade for. I think a team could throw the crazy offer at them. Bichette just got banged up again and hasn't been playing well. That Bichette's not going anywhere. People are still talking about him like he could be the biggest piece of the deadline. If you're the Blue Jays, you cannot possibly sell where his value is at. Would you say the Red Sox are in purgatory?
I don't see them doing like real buys, but yeah.
It would have to be full tilt. It would have to be a full tilt losing sesh. Now they open with 3 L's to the Dodgers. They're facing the Rockies, which can be medicine, can be weird.
If this Rocky series goes weird, they're like not buying.
If the Rockies series goes awry, and this is supposed to be the whole point of purg, then they've got Yankees and Mariners at home to decide what they're going to do. They can't sell.
They're a weird team as far as just trying to figure out what they have to sell. Like, if they wanted to just get value on whatever, then sure, they have pieces, but it's like a weird group of guys that would be, and like you're committing to being just terrible the rest of the way, and you're 8 games over 500 right now.
I'm not even gonna, because it would have to be so atrocious that it would be bad. So, if you're looking to add at the deadline, teams you need to be rooting against: Tampa Bay Rays, purg. Detroit Tigers are purging after a big couple series. Texas Rangers are purging. It's getting dangerous for them. New York Mets, purgy. Bad week, and they'll hard sell. They might want that. Cubs, purging and Herbin. San Francisco Giants, purging Santana. So it's a little less teams than I thought. I think some lines have been drawn on the sand. I did leave out the teams that would be outliers. If Pittsburgh somehow loses every game for the next week, their hand gets forced a little bit. Same with Boston. Kind of same with the Yankees. Like, I know they're not gonna. But you can't start bringing in those extremes. Yet one team will probably do that. One team will look up and it'll be a 2-8, and that'll decide their fate. That rhyme?
Yeah.
2-8, decide their fate. Maybe I'll add that to my purgatory song. Just saw our guy Tech Mike throwing the baseball in the lab over there. All right, we did a little of that. I will stop mentioning the Passan article, but there is one other thing of note. Because I really did. Jack Flaherty to the Brewers. That's a power fit. But Jack Flaherty's a fit with everyone right now. That's why he has to be traded. That's why maybe the Tigers aren't in purgatory. Unless they got a pitcher back with another year of control, but that starts getting really tricky MLB value-wise.
You get some guy who, can contribute to your lineup for a couple years. Be a weird rental trade, and, they can qualifying him if they think Flaherty right now would decline that. I think.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Or maybe he'd take it for 1 year of a payday and go for a big. Either way, I think everybody would be comfortable with it.
The
starting pitching's expensive.
The other fun one that Brother Jeff had, because I've mentioned the Rays are in purgatory. They operate differently, so maybe they shouldn't even be in purgatory. Passan put Arozarena to the Dodgers, and that was really cool in my head. If they did that, Randy's been swinging the stick better lately. Luckily, my Yankees got to be a big part of that help. So, hey, I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's a high and tight one today. Not much. Oh, I have to tell you about my weekend. Because some people like that. And then we'll thank Dan. Big weekend. Went to 5-iron golf after work Friday. Bang. Trying to get my swing dialed for my annual fantasy football golf trip coming in. Bong. 5-iron, great. Couple beers, fine. Head back for the Yankees game. Put on the Yankees. Friday night was Cole game. They're winning. They've got a nice lead. Before the game, I went to download college football, on my PS4. Turns out, college football not compatible on the PS4. Well done, PlayStation. I sit there brooding for a couple minutes. I go, okay, what am I going to do? I said, you know what? I'm a man. I like video games. In a way, they're a cheap, effective hobby in New York City.
Yeah.
If you can stay in, that's a win.
It's a one-time decent payment, but you find one game that you play it done.
You start doing hours in city time, video games become a decent hobby to have in your back pocket. I say I'm doing it. NCAA college football is one of my favorite video games I've ever played in my life. It's probably the most hours I've put into a video game, just because doing dynasty modes and getting lost in it and whatever. So I got it, watched the rest of the Yanks game, fired it up, late night, grinding, San Diego State. Got them in a good spot. Would have liked to get a little better. A lot of slippery ends to seasons. But, I think we won a couple Armed Forces Bowls, whatever. Had 2 job opportunities staring me in the face. Oklahoma, that had fallen on mediocre times because they're in the SEC now.
Oh.
College football. Kind of wild. Or the U. And I don't know. I mean, we're playing college football. It's the video game. Everyone's wanted that. Took over the U. We're grinding. We had a good run in one of the playoffs. I think we lost the championship game, so we're still coming down from that. But we're really establishing something, and we'll see. I don't even know if there's another jump point I want to go to, or I admitted this earlier. I forced won a bowl game. I wasn't proud about it. But it really helped early on at San Diego State to get me where I want to be. That I think this was my test dynasty to see how it's going. I wish the recruiting was just a little easier. You got to click a lot of buttons. It gets very clicky.
Seems like a lot of steps on there.
It's like one extra step. And the problem is I hit the point where I turned on auto recruiting but you can't get involved. The auto recruiting being on, it usurps what you want to add. So there's this 4-star QB begging to come to the U, and I was like, yeah, we need him. And so I would offer, and then I forgot I had auto on. I would sim to the next week, and it wouldn't be there. And I'd be like, you can't do that. So I don't know. We'll see. I saw our guy Blake Snell was in our Jam Gaming replies on the college football game. He didn't love it so far. There was some constructive comments that were like, hey, dude, they haven't done any patches yet. This is...
literally like
this is version 1 of a game a decade later. Like, we should be making some progressive steps. There are some people being rude to Blake Snell in the comment. Oh, focus on baseball. Get to pitching. He hit him with some 2 Cy Youngs, bruh. Real recognized, real Snelly. So excited to see some of my next steps with that game. It's mostly probably just going to be Dynasty mode, alone by myself. We'll see. Interactive Dynasties? Is that what people are doing? Jam Warehouse? We'll see on the Jam Gaming channel. So in between that, so I mean, we're talking late Friday after the Yankees game. Saturday, wake up, start playing again, obviously. Little kid on Christmas. What's I do Saturday? Oh, Saturday we went to Luke Combs' concert, which was awesome. Sony, like, hooked it up because we're, like, partners with them. We're in a suite with, this will matter to some people, with the Toast, the Toasters, popular female podcasts, I guess, if I had to label it. Girl with No Job.
So there's a podcast suite.
Yeah, it was a podcast suite, basically. So some people were really jazzed up about that. And the suite had, like, floor access. So we would go, we saw, like, we walked out on the floor, saw someone that seemed to have, like, a fake NCAA football. Pennyworth? Craig Pennington? That's not his name. He ripped. But we're on the floor for that. The sun's out. We're on the field at MetLife. That was pretty crazy just to, like, look around. I was trying to imagine playing football in that, and it's insane. Literally, like, man in the arena.
Yeah.
Went back up to the suite for the guy before the performance. A couple drinks, some food, mixing it up in there, making some friends. And then we went down for Luke Combs. Awesome. I'm not deep in the Luke Combs collection, although I did listen to his Fathers and Sons album because, you know, I'm not going to lie to the people. Like, if we're promoting it, I want to be in on it. Listen to it at the gym before the show. That was a mistake because it's all songs about being, like, kind of sad and, like, loving your pops. I don't know. It wasn't exactly gym
Not
fuel.
like a gym
Yeah.
album.
So that was a little bit of a miss. But he's got a new song in the Twister movie. No One's Safe in Oklahoma, something like that. That song's like a power song. That ripped. Fast Car brought the house down, obviously. And just a chiller of a dude. We got to, he took photos with people like an hour before the show. There was just like a quick moving line, and Sony like put us in it. So got a pic with Luke Combs, so that's cool. But I was really impressed. I was like, dude, he's doing this before a show? Like, I wouldn't. Like, especially after interacting with players who, like, don't want to be bothered 2 hours before they play a game. And, yeah, we were just told, like, he's that guy. Like, he loves the people. He's about it. He's a true man of the people. Awesome show. Get back on the recruiting trail for just a little bit. You know, while they're sleeping, you need to be recruiting. Go to sleep, wake up. Just grind a little more NCAA football because you need to. And then I went to my first Pilates class. It was Jess's 100th. And I told her at some point I would go. So we went obliques and cheeks class. Maybe the cheeks you're thinking of, maybe not. Only guy in the class. Always a little bit of a fear of mine. It was okay. Got really nervous a couple minutes in. We were really hammering the core, and I was like, I cannot do this for 40 minutes. Like, no way. Turns out they were kind of hitting it hard at the start and getting the hardest core out of the way. Reports where I did decently. It's one of those workouts, like, the whole time she's telling you the different adaptations. They got, like, different power levies on there. It's like, okay, put 2 on, take 2 off. So you adjust with that, and, you know, it's kind of like, it's like yoga, like speed yoga, where it's like, okay, if you want to adjust and do something a little easier, you could be on your knees for it. Or if you want to do the hard version, lift your right arm up. Had a fine enough time, was expecting the worst. I told the instructor that. She really didn't like that. I was like, yeah, you know, I'm expecting this to not go so well. And she was like, what? She's like, what kind of mindset is that? I was like, it's nothing against you or this what this is, but I've just been told this is very hard. That I could have a bad time today. Like the fact that she was taken aback.
They always do that. I did a yoga class in high school, or not high school, in college. They had a person come in once a week, and then they were doing that like mindset talk, and I laughed because I was like, I'm not gonna think positively about myself.
Right.
I'm me
Not
at
there
20.
yet. We're evolving.
And then at the end of the thing, she's like, "You laughed when I said to think positively before, but you made it." I'm like, "Well, it wasn't about you at all."
I was gonna this is a me thing. She was very bummed out by that mindset by me. Went to a New York diner after. So pretty nice weekend. Crazy summer weekend. I guess that's why they call it summer. What? Huge ep Wednesday. Foolish. General manager bringing trades to the table. Dan?
Talkin Jake is a production of Dan Patrick Productions, John Boy Media, and Workhouse Media.